This movie is the end is deeply troubling, powerful. And the first question I want to ask is just, do you feel we are close to the end of Anthropocene? Does the film have hope? Do you see this as, are we clear? Are we at the end?
I'm so glad you asked that. And I'm so glad that's your first question. The the film, I the film, it may be too late for the family in the film, but it is not too late for the audience. The film is a cautionary tale, and like all cautionary tales, it's created and told as an act of hope, in the belief that there are still people who can heed its warning, that there's still time to heed the warning. And yes, we're heading toward the abyss. And if we don't have the courage and the conviction that it might be possible to change course, then we have no choice but to continue right over the precipice. But and I think if we do that, we will do it while telling ourselves that, oh, it'll somehow everything will work out for the best. Like the family at the end of the film is singing, "Our future is bright." And I think that isn't that's a particular, that we may call that optimism and hope in America, but that's, I think, the wolf of despair in the sheep's clothing of hope. And I think real hope is finding the courage to say, look, we need to do better. Real hope is finding the courage to look honestly at our problems and to say, my God, time is short, but we yet can come together and marshal all of our creativity as a human family and solve them. And I make the film as an act of hope. And I know everyone who made it with me did too.
That's a perfect answer, and it's kind of nice to hear, honestly, like more than kind of nice. It's nice to hear that that's the intent, that's the goal, and that you're comfortable saying that's what we're trying to do here. And it's always nice to hear somebody talk about hope, but also to call out, as the movie does so well, the idea of everything is going to be fine, or optimism is like a dangerous game, sort of. And the characters are playing it right off the bat all the way to the end. And there's just, just to talk on more on what you bring up there, it feels so connected to the act of killing and other work you've done, just in this, like, I'm going to slap some genre pieces to this chilling reality, this dark reality, to create like a juxtaposition. Can you talk about how it's a little bit of an inheritor of what you were doing there,
Yeah,
in a different way?
absolutely. I mean, the like the act of killing and The Look of Silence, this is a film about storytelling, how we tell stories to justify our actions, to how we make up and cling to excuses to ease our regrets, how we somehow manage to believe those excuses, which is to say, it's about the uniquely human ability to lie to ourselves and the awful consequences of that, of self-deception. Like the act of killing, where perpetrators dramatize in the style of their favorite Hollywood movies their memories as a way of obscuring their pasts from themselves and as a way of creating out of desperation a kind of vision of themselves, an idea of themselves that they are able, at least temporarily, to live with, until those dramatizations crack and crumble. Here too, what gets the characters singing are the lies they tell themselves. So the songs are analogous to the dramatizations in the act of killing, and
Yeah.
and they're luminously beautiful. I think Joshua Schmidt wrote the most beautiful music, but they're luminously beautiful lies, like the paintings on the wall of this bunker. And where the truth screams through is in the walls of silence that the characters hit when they are desperately trying to kind of assemble the these luminously beautiful lies. The truth screams through in the cracks when the songs crumble and they can't sing anymore.
It's
And it screams through in the walls of salt outside their
Yeah,
homes.
I was gonna say it's literally there's walls inside. So there's like fake walls, like a set. And then you have this like these texts within text. It's not just music, but they're writing a story, but it's much like the way we write our histories, which is much like the way he's recounting the building of the railroads. Like there's just these like layers to like the victors write the history books, and the like it's just all kind of like packed and layered in there. And like any musical cinematically, music when they break into song, it's like this hyper real moment. And you just explained to us like for us in this story, they break into song when they're telling those lies, when they're writing the lies to themselves that they believe. Like, do you feel creating some sympathy and humanizing these people is like a little dangerous in some ways, or do you feel that it's necessary? Like, and I want to talk to Michael Shannon about this too, because I find it fascinating, like giving and like Tilda Swinton's character, like giving them humanity.
Well, I mean,
Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah. I mean, I have so many things to say about that. But first of all, just a few thoughts. What motivates me to film anyone, whether it's a fictional character or a documentary subject, is the longing to know what is it like to be that person. And you can
Yeah.
only do that. So it's like you can only do that through empathy, and you can only do that by trying to slip into their skin and to feel what is it like to be that person. And pointing fingers and feeling superior is never going to get you close. It's just going to reassure you that you're not, reassure you of a comfortable distance. And
Mm.
I also feel that as that we are all complicit. It's not just this rich family that lives in a bunker. Every time I live in Europe, every time we read of a thousand people drowning in the Mediterranean Sea, trying to escape conditions of misery that we knowingly put them in and profit from because that's what allows us to get cheap energy, cheap clothing, cheap consumer goods, cheap food. And we feel terrible when we read about this mass drowning. And we then indulge in the sentimental gesture of posting a sad emoji on social media as a means to give ourselves the permission to turn away
Move on.
and move on to something more comfortable. We
Yeah.
put ourselves in a bunker. We are in a bunker when we do that. When we pass someone in the road who needs our help, we put ourselves in the bunker. And it's not just a matter of individual choice, because we live in a society where, yes, you probably can't stop and help everyone in the street. But collectively, we could say this is the richest country in the world. There should be no one living in the street. And we should be raising the minimum wage. We should be encouraging unions. We should be saying housing is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. And why is that not the message of the so-called left-wing party in this country? Because the party is funded by billionaires, and those policies would hurt the party. In the other countries, the other party, the Republican Party, certainly also not saying those things at all. It's also it is a cabal of billionaires. So I'm saying that we are implicated. And I'd also just say one more thing. There may be There may be monsters among us, something Primo Levi said, but they're too few to worry about. The
Mm.
real question, the real problem are ordinary human beings. And if you or I grew up in this grew up as the son in this story, or the father in this story, or the mother in this story, we might hope we'd make different choices, but we're very lucky never to have to find out. And probably looking at the choices we do make, we'd make very similar choices because we do so every day.
I have to wrap up. I wish we could go on forever because there's so much here, but that you just said it so well. We are in the bunker, all of us. It's about us. It's not about them. Thank you so much for making the movie and for taking the time. Good luck and I appreciate it.
Thank you, George.